Did you know out of all of the Western nations, the United States is by far the most permissive when it comes to child sex change procedures? This according to a recent study conducted by a medical group called Do No Harm, where they analyzed all of the different Western nations, their laws, their medical practices, etc., and they determined which countries were the most liberal when it came to child sex change therapy, surgical castration, chemical castration, social transition, and etc. And the United States was head and shoulders above the rest, with one exception. And that was our friends in the nation of France. France was the only one that could even hold a candle to the United States. Interestingly enough, our friends over in the United Kingdom have actually figured this out better than we have. They've essentially ended the practice in the United Kingdom. They've shut down the only gender transition clinic that was kind of geared toward minors. That's been shut down. They've also said that they do not recommend, this being the NHS, they've said that they do not recommend socially transitioning kids. They don't recommend puberty blockers, hormone therapy, surgical castration, surgical gender transitioning, because the evidence to support its efficacy is inconclusive at best. We don't know the long-term ramifications of what happens to these kids when they're pumped full of, for example, estrogen. But we know the medical literature indicates right now that for men, if you have low testosterone levels, for example, as you get a little bit older, if you have really low testosterone levels, there's a correlation between having heart problems, I think it's liver problems, different organ problems whenever your testosterone rates are super low as a man. What do you think is going to happen to these young boys who are pumped full of so much estrogen that their genitals shrivel up and almost cease to exist? What's going to happen to them when they're 40 or 50? What's going to happen to their bone density, their muscular structure? The answer is we don't know. And the NHS is actually correct when they say, hang on, pump the brakes. No. We're going a little too far. The medical literature doesn't back up what's happening right now. We're totally mutilating these children. We're destroying their bodies for life. This is an irreversible kind of a thing. How about we pump the brakes? Meanwhile, the American Academy of Pediatrics has taken a different approach. Their approach is basically, well, just chop it off first, ask questions later. Oh, prescribe the Lupron and chemical castrations. Well, we'll just ask questions later. Pump that kid full of so much testosterone that that young lady grows a beard. We'll just figure out if she's still alive in 45 years. See, my thought would be, how about instead of using these children as lab rats, instead of just injecting them first and asking questions later, how about we hit the brakes? How about we reanalyze what's going on and we stop using them as freaking guinea pigs? You'll never hear the stories of this, but a lot of young people who have had their doctors, maybe their parents, whoever it may be, come to them and recommend these surgical transitioning procedures, these medical, castration procedures. Years down the road, they turn out to regret it. And there's a growing group of people called detransitioners. You can find groups like on Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, etc., where high-profile people with thousands and thousands of followers talk about how they were lied to, they were misled, they were essentially like gaslit into thinking that all of their problems were because they were somehow born into the wrong gender and as a wrong body, that they were the opposite gender, whatever, and that they were told they needed to flip, they needed to and inject themselves with all these things. Next thing you know, it's 10 years down the road, they're biologically destroyed. Their body has been totally ruined beyond any hope of ever getting it back to its intent and function biologically. And these people are like having their lives ruined. They're coming out and they're saying, hey, don't do this. Like, young people, do not do this. You're being lied to. You're being gaslit. And of course, the big tech companies have always sought to censor them. Reddit takes the groups down. Facebook takes the groups down. Twitter formerly used to take the groups down. But whatever happened to the United States, once the greatest, the shining city on a hill, a fantastic nation, whatever happened to us that now we are the laughingstock of the world? All of these other countries, they look at us and they hear things like this. They hear statistics like how we are the most permissive. We are the most encouraging of child sex change procedures. For goodness sakes, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, the guy who's supposed to be the leader of the free world, he invited Dylan Mulvaney to the White House to promote this exact kind of insanity, while the rest of the world, the NHS, is banning these things and saying, well, time out, we've gone too far. President Biden is bringing them to the White House to celebrate it and trot it out as if it's the greatest thing ever, which will encourage young people to go down that path, because what you celebrate, you get more of. So anyways, what do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section. Are you cool with the United States blazing the path into the future and snip, snap, chop, chop, stab, stabbing our children into oblivion because we want to be the most woke and the most inclusive and we want to kowtow to all of the gender ideology the most? Are you proud of that? Do you love the example the United States is setting, or are you a little bit more like me and you absolutely want to throw up when you hear stories like this? Anyways, let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, do the whole thing. We're making a lot more content over here on YouTube, so stick around, keep checking, hit the notification, wherever it is, the notification icon thing, so you get notified when new videos come out. That's all I got for you today. Until next time, keep me in your prayers, keep your country in your prayers. God bless.